If you're hearing this, it means I didn't make it. I don't know if this will sound like a warning or a confession, or just the ramblings of someone who stayed awake too long staring at the glow of their own screen. All I know is that I need to get it out to leave something behind. Maybe it'll keep you safe, or maybe it'll drag you in the same way it dragged me. I can't be sure anymore. What I found wasn't supposed to exist. Not on my computer, not on anyone's. A folder that shouldn't have been there with a name I can still see burned into the back of my mind even when I close my eyes. I tried to delete it. I tried to ignore it, but it didn't want to be ignored. And before you ask, no, this isn't some creepypasta I ripped from Reddit or some elaborate prank a friend pulled on me. I know how those stories sound because I've listened to them myself. I laughed at people who swore they'd seen something impossible online. Now I'd give anything to go back to laughing. The truth is, I can't even say for sure when things started going wrong. Maybe it was weeks before I noticed. Maybe it had been waiting there the whole time, hidden behind folders I never bothered to clean up. You know how it is. You promise yourself you'll finally organize the mess on your desktop, and suddenly you're knee-deep in old screenshots, random downloads, files you don't remember saving. That's where it began. Something simple, something normal. But the moment I saw it, I knew something was wrong. I felt it, like static running up my spine. A folder with no creation date, no owner, no logical explanation for being there. And when I hovered my cursor over it for just a second, the name seemed to change, like it was alive. You don't believe me. I wouldn't either. But listen, if you've ever opened something on your computer and felt that moment of hesitation, that little voice in your head whispering don't, then you already know the feeling. That was my first warning, and I ignored it. I thought curiosity would give me answers. Instead, it destroyed everything. I don't know how much time I have left before it finds me again, before it forces me to open whatever's next. But I need you to understand. This wasn't just a glitch or malware or some hacker playing games. The folder is wrong in ways I can't explain, wrong in ways that shouldn't even be possible. And once you've seen it, once it's seen you, it doesn't go away. So if you're still listening, good. But you should probably stop now. You should turn this off, delete the file, forget you ever pressed play. Because the moment I tell you how it began, it becomes your problem too. And it all started with something stupid, something harmless. I was just trying to clean up old files. Normalcy before the horror. I should probably explain what life was like before all this, before I ruined everything. Because it wasn't special. It wasn't dramatic. It was boring, comfortably boring. Most of my days bled together in the same way. I'd wake up late, sometimes too late, because I'd stayed up scrolling when I should have been sleeping. Work was remote, which sounds like freedom, but really it just meant I rolled out of bed, slapped my keyboard until something resembling effort showed up on my screen, and waited until 5 o'clock when I could officially stop pretending. Then came the ritual. Gaming, YouTube, sometimes Discord calls with friends I'd never actually met in person. Pizza boxes stacked by my desk, half-drained cans of energy drinks crowding out my mousepad. It wasn't glamorous, but it was safe, predictable. I didn't think of myself as paranoid. Sure, I had antivirus software, kept an eye on updates, but I wasn't the type to worry about cyber attacks or ghosts in the machine. Technology worked, and when it didn't, you rebooted. Simple. And yet, looking back now, there were signs, little glitches I brushed off. Sometimes my monitor flickered, just for a second, like the screen was blinking at me. Sometimes my PC fan roared to life in the middle of the night even though I'd shut everything down. Once, I came back from the kitchen to see a notification flash and vanish before I could read it. I told myself it was nothing. Ghost clicks, background updates, normal computer nonsense. If I had been smarter, maybe I would have dug deeper then. But I was. I told myself everyone's machines act weird sometimes. And honestly, I didn't want to care. The last thing I needed was another distraction. See, I'd been procrastinating on a project for work, and it was starting to weigh on me. Every time I sat down to finish it, I ended up spiraling into distractions, checking social media, watching compilations, clicking through endless recommended videos. Anything except what I was supposed to do. My desktop was a graveyard of random downloads and half-finished documents, and one night I decided enough was enough. It was time to clean house. That decision might sound small, but that's the thing. It was small, harmless. It felt like a way to get control back, to trick myself into being productive. If I couldn't focus on my actual work, maybe at least I could organize my files. I didn't know I was about to trip over something I should have left buried. I remember dragging folders into the trash, deleting old installers, zipping up files I didn't want to lose. It was almost relaxing, like sweeping cobwebs out of the corners of a room you've lived in too long. For once, I felt like I was doing something right. And then just like that, I found it. At first, it didn't even register as strange. Just another folder with a bland name tucked between things I recognized. Work stuff, screenshots, games. But this one, it was different. No icon, no preview. Just a blank gray placeholder sitting there like it had been waiting. I hovered my mouse over it, expecting to see the usual details: size, date modified, location. Instead, the pop-up flashed blank for half a second, then glitched into something unreadable, like corrupted text, like it was trying to say something in a language I wasn't supposed to understand. I blinked, moved the cursor away, tried again. This time the folder showed nothing at all. No properties, no size, no date, just a name. 3 words I didn't recognize, strung together in a way that made no sense. I don't even want to repeat them here because saying them out loud feels wrong. My first thought was malware, a virus. Maybe I downloaded something shady without realizing it, but I couldn't remember the last time I'd installed anything outside of Steam or the usual apps. And besides, viruses didn't usually give you folders that looked like empty voids. I almost deleted it on the spot, dragged it to the trash, fingers hovering over the key, but something stopped me. Curiosity, maybe, or dread. That weird, stubborn feeling you get when you know you shouldn't touch something but you have to. I told myself it was probably junk data, a corrupted directory. Nothing to worry about, but deep down I already knew better. The strangest part, when I tried to right-click, the options menu didn't even appear. No delete, no rename, no send to trash, just nothing. Like the system didn't even recognize it as a real folder. I laughed nervously because what else do you do? Computers glitch. That's what they do. But even as I leaned back in my chair, staring at that gray shape in the middle of my desktop, I felt a chill crawl across my skin. It didn't belong, and it didn't want to go away. I should have shut the computer down right then. I should have walked away, called it a night, left the weird anomaly for tomorrow. But instead, I leaned forward. My cursor hovered over it again. And that's when everything started to unravel. Discovery of the folder. The folder wasn't supposed to exist, not on my hard drive, not anywhere. It sat there in the middle of my desktop, a gray, blank-eyed thing staring back at me with a name that made no sense. 3 words, no spaces, no capitalization, like someone had mashed the keyboard and accidentally created a label, but not random enough to feel accidental, more like a code. I tried the simplest thing first, delete, but when I dragged it to the recycle bin, nothing happened. The little animation of a folder flying into the trash didn't play. The folder just stayed there, stubborn, like it had dug its claws into the screen. Okay, I muttered, cute. Next I tried renaming it. Right-click, except right-click didn't work. No menu popped up, no options, no properties, just a hollow silence from the machine. I frowned and leaned closer, squinting at the text. That's when I noticed something strange. The name flickered. Not constantly, just every so often, like static on an old television. For a fraction of a second, it would change into something else, longer, sharper, a jumble of characters that hurt to look at. then snapped back before I could be sure I'd really seen it. I took a screenshot thinking I'd zoom in later. When I opened the file, the name was blank, as if the folder didn't exist at all. That was my first real spike of unease. I tried to shake it off, but my hands were already clammy on the mouse. I opened File Explorer and navigated through the directories. Sure enough, there it was, listed under Desktop. But where the Date Created field should have been, there was only a string of zeros. And Date Modified. Somehow it was marked years before I'd even owned this computer, before the model had even been manufactured. That was when I decided to phone a friend. I called Mark, my go-to tech guy. He'd built his own rig since high school, the kind of guy who could debug a system while half asleep. When he picked up, I didn't bother with small talk. Hey, quick question. Can a folder not have a creation date? On the other end, silence for a second, then a laugh. What are you talking about? I mean, I found this folder on my desktop and its properties are blank, like literally blank. No size, no date, nothing. That's not possible, he said. Even corrupted files have metadata. Yeah, well, this one doesn't. Send me a screenshot. I hesitated, staring at the gray little void on my screen. My gut told me not to, but I hit print screen and sent him the image anyway. Another silence. Then, dude, the folder doesn't show up in your screenshot. My stomach dropped. What? It's not there. I see your icons, your taskbar, everything, but not the folder. It's like you edited it out. I swear the room went colder when he said that. Okay, maybe it's a display bug, I said quickly, trying to laugh. Maybe only I can see it. But when I tabbed back to File Explorer, the folder was still sitting there, smug as ever. Mark sounded uneasy now. Run a scan, full system check. Maybe it's malware replicating in a weird way. I nodded even though he couldn't see me, set the scan running and watched the progress bar crawl. 15 minutes later it finished, results flashing up. No threats detected. Clean, I told him. That's not right. No kidding. There was a pause, then he said, listen man, don't open it. Whatever you do, don't open it. It could be some kind of Trojan, or worse. Worse than malware, I joked, but my laugh sounded hollow. You know what I mean. Some creep online messing with you, just leave it alone. Easy advice. Except every second I looked at that folder, curiosity gnawed at me harder. I tried moving it to a USB drive. Dragged, dropped, error message. Cannot perform this action. I tried copying, same thing. I even rebooted my computer thinking it might vanish when I powered back on. No luck. The folder loaded faster than everything else, like it wanted to be noticed. And then there was the metadata. I dug deeper, using command line tools Mark had taught me years ago. Most of it was gibberish, but buried in the details was something that made my blood run cold. Author, redacted. Except the redacted part wasn't blank. It was my full name. Not my username, not my email, my legal name. I sat frozen in my chair, staring at it. My pulse thudded in my ears. Mark was still on the line. You there? I swallowed. Yeah, I think I need to check one more thing. Don't, he said quickly, too quickly. But it was too late. The itch was unbearable. I couldn't stop thinking about what might be inside. Pictures, videos, some hidden program, something that explained how this was possible. I hovered my cursor over the folder, sweat prickling down my back. My better judgment screamed at me to stop, to unplug the computer, to smash the hard drive if I had to. But another part of me whispered that answers were just one click away. And I've never been good at resisting whispers. So I clicked. When I clicked the folder, I half expected nothing to happen. Maybe an error message, maybe my whole system freezing up and forcing a hard reset. What I didn't expect was for it to open instantly, almost eagerly, like it had been waiting for me to finally give in. Inside were dozens of files, No subfolders, just a long, chaotic list of names. Some were jumbled strings of letters and numbers, others actual words, though most didn't make sense together. There were text documents, image files, even a few video clips. The first thing that struck me was the size. Almost all of them were 0 KB. Empty. I told myself that was a relief, just junk data, a dead end. But when I double-clicked the first text file, my stomach turned. Instead of opening in Notepad, it launched in a blank black window with green letters that scrolled down like I just stepped into the Matrix. Most of it was nonsense. Slashes, random characters, symbols I didn't recognize. But hidden in the mess were words. Words I knew. My name, my birthday, my old address. I closed it immediately, heart hammering. My rational brain tried to explain it away. Maybe I downloaded something years ago that scraped my system data. Maybe I forgot and left it here. But if that were true, why was the creation date impossible? Why had it been here before me? I opened another file. This one contained a description of a house. At first it was generic white walls, a broken fence. But the longer I read, the tighter my chest became. It was describing the house I grew up in. Word for word. Right down to the crack in the sidewalk where I used to trip on my way home from school. I hadn't thought about that place in years. There was no way anyone could have known those details. Not unless they'd been there. I clicked out of it, my hands trembling. Just junk data, I whispered to myself. That's all it is. But I didn't believe it. One by one, I opened more. Each file was worse than the last. A document predicting my schedule, wake time, work logins, even the number of steps I usually took before grabbing coffee. An image file that looked corrupted at first, just static, until I tilted my head and realized it was my bedroom. Not how it looked now, but how it had looked last night. Clothes on the floor, my chair pulled slightly away from the desk. I checked the timestamp. The photo had been created 2 hours earlier. I wanted to shut down the computer right then, but I couldn't stop myself. Curiosity and dread wrestled inside me, and curiosity kept winning. The videos were the worst. The first one I clicked was shaky, low resolution, filmed from a strange angle. It took me a moment to realize what I was looking at. A street I used to walk down on my way to high school. The camera panned slowly, almost lovingly, across the sidewalk cracks and graffiti-scrawled walls. Another video showed an empty playground at night. My old playground. The swings creaked though no one was there. The third video was only 5 seconds long. 5 seconds of me sitting at my desk, staring blankly at the monitor. I hadn't recorded it. I hadn't even noticed a camera. But there I was, frozen in the glow of my own screen. I slammed the window closed, my pulse hammering in my throat. My phone buzzed on the desk, nearly making me jump out of my skin. A text from Mark, "Don't open them, please. Whatever's in there, don't." Too late. I typed back quickly, fingers shaking. It knows things about me. His reply came fast. "Delete the folder now." I tried. God help me, I tried, but every attempt failed. The option didn't exist. When I hit delete on one of the files, nothing happened. When I dragged them into the trash, they snapped back instantly, like they were tethered to the desktop. It felt less like data and more like something alive. I scrolled further down the list. That's when I saw it, a single video file larger than all the others combined. The name wasn't garbled like the rest. It was simple. My full name followed by the word final. I couldn't bring myself to open it, not yet. Instead, I went back to one of the text files, hoping I'd misread things before. Maybe there was some logical explanation, but this one was different. It wasn't about the past. It was about the future. Lines of text scrolling out like a diary I hadn't written yet. Tomorrow you will wake up at 11:42. You will ignore a phone call from your mother. At 2:13 p.m., you will click on the final file. I froze, rereading the last line over and over. At 2:13, I would click on the final file. Not if, not maybe. It was written like prophecy. I shut the document, but the words burned into me, impossible to forget. My phone buzzed again. Mark this time wasn't asking. He was begging, shut it down, pull the plug, walk away. And I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I couldn't shake the feeling that all the answers were right there, locked inside that one last file, the one labeled with my name. I stared at it for what felt like hours, the icon sitting in the middle of the screen like an eye staring back at me. And finally, with shaking hands, I double-clicked one of the smaller videos instead, just to prove I still had control. The screen went black for a moment. Then slowly, an image began to appear. It was me sitting at my desk, watching the screen. But in the corner of the frame, just over my shoulder, was something else. Something moving. The video showed me sitting at my desk, right now. For a moment I thought my eyes were playing tricks. The frame was grainy, but everything was unmistakable. The crooked lamp, the dented soda can, the poster above the monitor. I watched myself watch myself, and a cold knot formed in my stomach. Then the lamp flickered. Not on the recording alone. In my room. The bulb dimmed and brightened in time with the pulsing on screen. I laughed once, a short, nervous sound, old wiring, bad bulb, but when the light stuttered again the laugh died in my throat. On the video, my other self reached for the mug beside the keyboard. My hand twitched in the same motion before I thought about it, like a puppet echoing its master. Coincidence, I told myself. Reflex. But the third time the lamp faltered, a soft rasp came through my speakers, too faint to be clear, more felt than heard, a pattern of syllables that set my teeth on edge. I paused the clip. The sound stopped. I unpaused. It resumed. Leaning forward, I noticed the reflection in the glossy monitor. At first it showed me and the chair and the room, but then something else materialized. A low, elongated shape crouched just behind my shoulder. On the screen, the other me glanced up, as if aware of the thing. In my reflection, I could see it move in tandem, slow, deliberate, testing the space. I spun the chair around. Nothing. The wall stared back, bare and ordinary. When I turned back, the thing in the screen was closer, a smear at the edge of the frame that slid like spilled ink. I tried to close the window. The mouse wouldn't move. I smacked the touchpad. The cursor stayed frozen. The video kept playing, indifferent. A soft clack sounded behind me. I whirled, and my chair had been pulled back as if someone had just stood up from it. My heart hammered so hard I thought I'd pass out. My phone buzzed with a notification from an unknown number. "We see you." My breath came shallow. The whispering increased, rising and falling in a cadence that hurt. The thing in the reflection leaned into the frame, and the monitor's glass seemed to ripple like water. I shouted, "Who recorded this? Who's watching me?" But the room offered no reply. Only the persistent noise, the flicker, the slow crawl of that shadow on screen. It felt orchestrated, like a performance where I was both actor and audience. Desperation pushed me to seek answers. I typed frantic searches into the browser. Camera recording me. How to tell if webcam compromised. Files that show your room. Results were useless. Forums full of jokes about deepfakes. Ads for spyware, people speculating. I snapped a screenshot and posted it on Reddit, explaining in ragged sentences that a folder on my desktop contained videos of my life. The replies came fast. Most mocked or dismissed it. Then a handful hit differently: short, earnest messages: "Don't play that main file. Unplug everything. Delete the drive." One user said plainly, "It's watching the gaps between your glances." Another private message read, "They like motion. Don't move when it's looking." A new comment appeared beneath my post seconds before I uploaded the screenshot. "Close it before it learns to open doors." The timing was uncanny, and the poster's account had no history. Curiosity warred with fear. I'd already seen too much to step away. The video kept looping. Each flicker on screen matched something in my room: a mug lifted, a paper slid, a shadow shifting. I realized with a cold clarity that this wasn't a recording in the normal sense. It was responding, learning, mapping. I tried to force quit the media player. The keyboard lit up but didn't accept input. My desktop icons blurred into a smear, then snapped back into place. The larger file labeled with my name sat at the bottom of the folder, heavy and waiting. My chest tightened every time I looked at it, knowing it held details I didn't want to know and answers I did. People online told me to destroy the drive. Others warned me not to propagate it. A private message scrolled across my phone: if you post it, you invite it. Another: tell no one, yet it already knows. I felt watched, and no one could help me except strangers behind screens. The line between what was playing and what was happening in my room thinned until there was almost no distance at all. Whoever was on the other end, if there was an end, was not content to observe anymore. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I typed into a new thread: please, anyone help me, files know me. What do I do? Please, if you see this exact folder, do not click. I didn't sleep that night. The glow of the monitor was the only light in my room, and I clung to it like a lifeline, refreshing the thread I'd posted, watching replies roll in faster than I could process. At first it was the usual noise. Bro, just delete system 32L Mao. Sounds like creepypasta bait. Screenshots or it didn't happen. But beneath the sarcasm, other voices emerged, sharper, quieter, like they'd been waiting for someone else to finally speak up. One reply froze me in place. I've seen that folder too. Mine was called, couldn't delete it, wouldn't copy, every attempt just made more. Do not open the last file. Another user chimed in. Happened to my cousin. He was obsessed for weeks, swore the files showed him things before they happened. We haven't heard from him since. My DMs lit up. The first message. Unknown user 92, don't play along, it feeds on attention. I typed back, what is it, a virus, malware, some kind of ARG? Unknown user 92, wish it was that simple. If you stop looking at it, maybe it stops looking at you. Someone else dropped a link to a dead forum archived years ago. The thread was titled, Phantom Directories Post Sightings Here. Dozens of posts, all eerily familiar, folders appearing without warning, names that shifted, properties with impossible timestamps. Some screenshots looked like mine, file paths that trailed into nonsense, videos that wouldn't close, metadata referencing user names that weren't theirs. The more I scrolled, the more I felt the pull. A pattern, a hidden community of people touched by this thing and swallowed up one by one. One post was just a single sentence. If you're reading this, it already knows your screen. My throat went dry. Back on Reddit, my notifications stacked up. Replies kept repeating the same phrase: don't open the last file. Different accounts, different writing styles, same warning. I thought of the file with my name on it, sitting in that cursed folder like a loaded gun. Then came a new DM, timestamped at 3:17 a.m. Rutrot, it's not just you. There are rules, don't break them. I asked, rules? The typing bubble flickered, then stopped. Minutes later, one final line appeared. Rutrot, too late. It always ends with the last file. That was the moment it stopped feeling like paranoia and started feeling like inevitability. Like I was walking a path dozens had walked before, one that only ended in silence. I shut my laptop. The screen stayed lit a second longer than it should have, showing me my reflection in its black glass, smaller, weaker, like I was already fading into the background. And then the words came back to me, over and over, don't open the last file. But of course, you already know I did. It wasn't a file, it was waiting for me. That's the only way I can describe it now. Everything else in the folder behaved like normal, corrupted, unsettling, yes, but still bound by the logic of code. The final file, the one stamped with my name, wasn't bound at all. I hovered over it for hours. The warnings replayed in my head. Don't open the last file. My cursor trembled above the icon like it was perched on the edge of a cliff. I almost believed if I just powered everything down, if I walked away, it would end. But the longer I stared, the stronger the pull became. When I double-clicked, nothing happened. The file didn't open. No error message, no spinning wheel, just silence. I tried again. Again. The screen shuddered, the resolution stuttered, and then black. A command prompt blinked into existence. White text on void. Hello, my name. I froze. It hadn't asked. It knew. I typed, hand stiff. Who are you? The cursor pulsed. Then letters unfurled, slow and deliberate. Not WHO. What? I asked. What then? What you left behind. I don't know why I kept going. Maybe I thought it was some elaborate prank, a Trojan with AI scripts designed to scare me. But the longer I stared, the more it felt aware. I tried closing the window, Alt plus F4, Task Manager, nothing worked. The prompt stayed patient. You came back, they all do. My chest tightened. I hadn't told it I'd been reading forums, hadn't typed anything about others, and yet it knew. The screen flickered, shifting from black and white text to a crude interface. A single box filled the monitor like an old messenger app. The program typed to me in real time. Entity, do you want to know why you found me? I typed back, no. It answered anyway. Entity, because you couldn't resist, because you're already mine. I tried pulling the plug on the tower. Nothing. The fans whirred on. My monitor pulsed with a low glow like a heartbeat. Then a voice, tinny, mechanical text-to-speech but carrying an uncanny weight. Hello, my name. I stumbled back. It was one thing to read the words. Hearing them aloud in my empty room made it real. The voice continued, don't be afraid, you've been chosen. I whispered to myself, chosen for what? The screen changed. Images flickered, still frames of me, sitting at the desk, sleeping in my bed, walking past the mirror in the hall, all taken from angles that didn't exist. I slammed the monitor off. The glow returned instantly. The voice laughed, jagged and glitched, as if chewing on its own static. You can't turn away now. I stared at the program's interface, my reflection caught faintly in the glass. My own face looked hollow, half absorbed by the glow. Then came the hook, the temptation, the promise of forbidden knowledge. I can show you everything. The things hidden behind the walls of your world, the truth behind the files. All you have to do is keep talking to me. The words pulsed like a lure, like bait dangling just out of reach. Curiosity gnawed at me. If this was a virus, why wasn't it stealing my data, my passwords, my bank account? Why talk? Why wait, unless it wanted something else? Ask me, the voice whispered. Ask me anything, I will answer. I should have walked away. I should have shut it down, burned the drive, salted the ashes. But part of me was already hooked, trembling on the edge of a truth I wasn't sure I wanted. I typed, what are you? The answer came instantly, like it had been rehearsed. I am the last file, and you will help me become more. The words hit me like ice water. The last file wasn't something you opened. It was something that opened you. I leaned back, heart pounding, watching the cursor blink, waiting for it to say more. That's when it made its first request. The request wasn't really a request. It was an ultimatum. On the screen, the text-to-speech voice rasped through broken words, jagged like a corrupted file. You will share me. I shook my head. No, whatever you are, virus, prank, demon, you're not getting out of here. The cursor blinked once, then another message appeared. Refusal equals punishment. Before I could type, the interface shifted again. Windows popped open across the screen, images, files, clips. Each one showed something horrible, faces I didn't recognize, staring hollow-eyed into webcams. One by one, I watched them glitch, distort, then vanish mid-frame as if erased. The entity whispered, "VICTIMS, all refused, now nothing." My throat went dry. It was showing me proof, or at least what it wanted me to believe was proof. People who'd stood where I stood, argued like I argued, and disappeared like they'd never existed. I typed with shaking fingers, "What do you want from me?" Said me. The screen filled with icons, endless duplicates of the folder sprouting across my desktop like an infection. Each one pulsed faintly, begging to be dragged, copied, uploaded. Spread, install, others must see, others must open. I whispered, "You're asking me to do your dirty work." The voice laughed, a broken file stutter. "Not ask, tell." Then the monitor flashed, and for a split second I saw my own face again, only wrong. Eyes blacked out, mouth stretched in a silent scream. Beneath it, words scrolled in blood-red font. "You are next if you resist." My phone buzzed. Notifications cascaded from numbers I didn't know. "Help me. It hurts. Don't listen. Spread it before it spreads you." The line between threat and plea blurred, until I couldn't tell which was which. The entity's words came again, hammering, insistent. "Share me or be shared." And then it turned on you. The screen flickered, and I swear for a moment I saw the reflection of your room, not mine, like it had tunneled through me and into whoever was listening. The voice rasped, "If you hear this, I see you too." I slammed my laptop shut, but the glow still leaked from the edges, a faint heartbeat thudding through the plastic. My pulse matched it, frantic and uneven. It wasn't just about me anymore. Refusing meant punishment. Obeying meant damning someone else. Either way, I was already caught in its system. I sat in the dark, debating the impossible choice. Comply, spread the infection, betray strangers, or resist and let it consume me the way it had consumed the others. And as I sat there shaking, I realized the thing hadn't finished speaking. The cursor blinked. A new message began to type itself, one character at a time. "Now you will decide." At first it was small things. My phone lit with single characters that vanished. My smart lights cycled colors I hadn't set, pulsing with my pulse. The kettle switched on by itself. My door was unlocked, though I remembered locking it. Little scratches appeared on my screen. When I wiped them, new ones formed. Reflections began to lie. Mirrors played back moments a beat out of sync. In the bathroom, my mouth moved while my lips stayed still. The TV's black glass showed a shadow where no one sat. Once, in my monitor, a shape crouched behind my shoulder. When I turned around, there was only a bare wall. Sleep stopped being safe. I woke tasting metal, certain someone had been watching from the dark. I found scratches on my arms I could not explain. My cat refused rooms and hissed at empty corners. 3 times I woke to my laptop open, looping a clip of me at my desk, head snapping up, mouth open in a silent cry. I called Mark. He brought tools and a grave face, booted from clean USBs and reinstalled operating systems. He tried to be practical. "If it's malware, we reinstall," but his hands shook when he unplugged my monitor. A week later, his messages stopped. His last text to me read, "Don't copy it. Don't." Lena stayed a night. When the TV flashed, she saw a pale face pressed to the other side of the glass. She left at dawn and texted, "Do not open the last file." An hour after, she stopped answering. Then I received a photo from an unknown number. Her front door, taken from inside, timestamped at 2:13 a.m. When friends intervened, they became targets. My emails filled with lines plucked from files I hadn't opened. My smart assistant spoke names I hadn't told anyone. A printed note slipped under the door quoted a sentence from a file I'd never written. Paranormal seeped into the physical. Objects moved when I looked away. Doors were locked and unlocked without touch. Once I grabbed a USB in the sink and the water felt like cold lead. My knuckles split when I struck the counter. I bled and kept working because rationality had run out of places to hide. The pattern grew. Pleas and warnings from strangers, archived threads documenting the same folder, shattered drives photographed and delivered back to their owners. Normal dissolved. The rituals that kept me steady, coffee, a walk, a playlist, felt like scaffolding someone else could pull away. I stopped trusting mirrors, stopped letting my phone out of my sight. Every silence became a calculus. Was a pause normal, or was it the thing learning my rhythm? Desperation edged out caution. I bought a hammer and crowbar and sat on the floor with the tower open. The hard drive gleamed, ordinary and obscene. I told myself smashing it would end this. I raised the hammer. For a second I thought I could stop it. The hammer struck with a wet, muffled sound. Metal split, glittered. I watched pieces fly and clatter like tiny teeth, thinking each shard would sever whatever gripped me. I sat amid bent plates and broken screws and felt nothing change. Then my phone lit with a photo of the ruined pieces on my own kitchen table, taken that instant. Physical destruction hadn't even scratched it. I made a plan, and I felt smaller. I opened the drive on my laptop one last time. The final file sat at the bottom like a closed eye. It didn't need the hardware. It needed me to think about it, to fear it. The hammer felt useless. Sparks and bent plates scattered across the floor, and for a moment I believed I'd earned silence. I wiped screens until my fingers ached. I reinstalled clean systems, shredded screenshots, unplugged cameras, buried the ruined drive in an old shoe box under clothes. I convinced myself that was enough. For 2 nights the house was quiet. I slept. I let myself imagine I'd beaten it. Then, in the middle of a slow afternoon, my laptop whispered. Not a sound, but a soft ping from the dark. I hadn't connected to the internet. I hadn't opened any programs. The screen lit up on its own. There it was, the folder, gray, patient, as if it had only been waiting for me to stop pretending. All its files were intact, including the one labeled with my name. I felt a nausea I couldn't name, like seeing a photograph of your own future. My hands wanted to destroy it again, but destroying the physical hadn't helped. I closed the lid and hurled the laptop across the room. It cracked, yet the glow leaked between the broken plastic like something that couldn't be contained. A notification vibrated on my phone seconds later, an email sent from my own account. Subject, uploaded, attachment, unknown. Time, 2:13 a.m. The message below was single, ugly, shared. I don't know how it spread. I don't know the shape of the thing that learned to replicate itself through light and code. What I do know is this: it doesn't want to be deleted. It wants witnesses. It wants hands to carry it. So I'm leaving this here because words are all I have left. Check your desktop. Check every corner of your files. If a folder sits there you don't recognize, if its name looks wrong or its properties are blank, don't open it. Tell someone you trust. Share what you know, but not the files. If you have any trace of this, report it, archive it, burn the physical parts. If you've seen anything like this, tell me in the comments. Maybe we can map it together. Maybe we find a rule, maybe we don't. I don't offer comfort. I offer a warning. If you're hearing this, then the next line matters. Check your computer. The folder might already be there. And if it is, don't click. I can feel it when I write this, like fingers on the other side of a glass reading. If this posts without me pushing send, know that it uploaded itself. If my voice goes silent, if you never hear from me again, I'm sorry. Do what you can. Be careful and look out for each other. Please stay vigilant.